I'm your host, Mike Pache. Thanks again for joining us. We just heard from President Trump for about 40 minutes. We'll play it out for you in full a little bit later on LiveNOW from Fox. But we want to talk about this great Politico article that came out today where it talks about Secretary Rubio privately talking about and expecting Vice President Vance to be the 2028 GOP nominee. And obviously there has been a lot of talks already on who would it be, maybe. The front runner, would it be Vance? Would it be Rubio? You know, the figure would be that they would both try to run for. But let's now talk to Politico right here. One of the reporters on the story. Great article, Diana Nerozzi with Politico. Always great to have you on. And yeah, I thought this was a fascinating look at how President Trump, not even a year into this second administration, and there's already jockeying going on.
Thanks so much, Mike. And I found it extremely interesting because 3 years out, the rhetoric from Rubio could be, you know, it's just too early to tell. But I think it's very interesting that he's telling people already that he wouldn't be interested in leaving his secretary position and running against Vance. There could be several different reasons why he's saying this now to his allies. Maybe he doesn't want to stir the boat and get into a Republican fight at this moment. Or maybe he really will not run against Vance and maybe wants to be on his VP ticket.
Yeah, and I think that's the talk there, and really the thinking with Republicans. They've already been discussing maybe a possible Vance-Rubio ticket. I mean, President Trump has even talked about that on Air Force One not too long ago.
Yeah, I think Trump was the first one to bring it out publicly. He said he wants to see Vance and Rubio and possibly on the same ticket. And then Vance in a podcast was also talking about the possibility, saying it would be great. You know, he jokes with Rubio about it, he said. So it does seem like it's a real conversation that's going on.
And it seems like the advantage would be for Republicans to kind of coalesce, with one person early on. It seems like down the road when you get closer to the elections, if you have this big field, 15, 17, 18 Republicans all trying to go for it, you're really giving a lot of maybe momentum to the other side because you're just fighting within the party. But if you could bring in closer to the actual nominations where you can get somebody say, yeah, that's going to be our front runner, we're starting with him.
I think that's true, but I think usually we wait until after the midterms, and that's been kind of the rhetoric behind the scenes with officials saying we have to see what happens. It's 3 years away. It's not even 2026 yet. But as this story illustrates, the conversations are happening even before then. So I think you're right on that.
And because President Trump is so outspoken and really goes against the grain so many times in Washington, D.C., do you think maybe in a couple of years we even see President Trump say, okay, I want Vice President Vance to be the nominee and kind of really put the momentum and try to get everyone on his side immediately?
I think it will be up to the president, and I think it will be really up to him to push his candidate forward, and it will likely be Vance. But as we saw in the elections recently and in the midterms a few years ago, I think Trump will really have to stand up behind the Republican nominee to make sure that he wins going forward.
Yeah, that's so true, and great insight there as well, Diana, as we continue to really talk about the article and really the jockeying positions that will be going on, no doubt about it. And, it's going to be fascinating either way that it happens in 2028. I love when it's an open primary for the Republicans, open primary for the Democrats. I love when that all happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have to see who challenges Vance, if anyone is brave enough to come forward. Obviously, again, as this story illustrates, and in general, the sitting vice president usually does have that momentum behind him. But it'll be interesting to see who's willing to come up and challenge him.
Yeah, that is true. And I think also for Republicans, seeing Vice President Vance when he was in the debate with Walz, I think they saw a lot of his future for a possible presidential candidate in that debate there because of his strong performance.
Everyone talks about how great of a performance that was because he was able to be nice. And I think that's what people will be looking for. Is he charismatic on camera? Can he relate to people? Of course, that's one of the characteristics of Trump that a lot of Republicans like. They like his appearance. They like how he talks to people. So I think Vance will really have to drive that home if he wants to win.
Yeah, there we go. We will wait and see just how it all comes together. But Diana, great to have you on. Great to talk about your great article with Politico this afternoon. We appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Mike.